Here's the thing, there are many myths about volleyball that are commonly believed. Think you need to be tall to play? Or that beach volleyball and indoor volleyball are the same thing? Maybe you were told to set with your fingertips. Today, we're smashing myths about volleyball that many people still believe. Number 1. You can only serve overhand. Here's a tricky one for the beginners. Many people think that a player can only serve the ball overhand. While this is most commonly used, underhand serves are also a thing and are completely legal as well. Many new players opt to do underhand serves as they have not built the strength they require or the accuracy is not pinpoint. Even some pro players do underhand serves to throw off their opponent. It's all about what better suits your strategy and game plan. Number 2. Beach volleyball is just indoor volleyball on sand. If you've ever played both, you know this one needs to be debunked right away. They are two completely different games. Beach volleyball is played with only 2 players per team instead of 6, and the court is smaller compared to the indoor volleyball ones. There's more, the rules are unique and much more strict, like no open hand tipping and different guidelines for hand setting. So no, the sand is really not the only difference. Number 3. You have to be tall to play volleyball. Here's one of the most common ones. Volleyball players are supposed to be tall. Ever heard someone say that short people cannot play volleyball? Well, that's just one of the myths. While height can be an advantage in this sport, volleyball is a game of skill, strategy, and teamwork. One of the most valuable players in the volleyball court are liberos, and they're usually not super tall. Some of the best liberos and even setters are not known for their height, but rather their skills. Take a look at players like Brenda Castillo or Karch Kirali. Their talent and hard work prove that height isn't everything. So if you're passionate about playing volleyball, don't let this myth get in your way. Number 4. You should not follow through on your float serve. This one is for the volleyball players. Many players were coached to stop their hand at the moment of contact to get that perfect float serve, and some players followed this strategy for years. In fact, following through on the float allows more power or speed, and it will still result in a float when done correctly. If you watch any pros or higher level players execute a float, no one will stop right at the ball unless they're trying to drop it in front of the 10-foot line. So why were a lot of players taught to stop their hand at the point of contact? When learning to float serve, taking away the follow-through can let the players practice visualizing the point of impact on the ball and get immediate feedback on how their serve went. Learning the way to contact the ball for zero spin is crucial at this point rather than speed. Once you're familiar with hitting through the center of gravity of the ball, feel free to add follow-through and increase the velocity of your serve. You'll see a huge difference. Number 5. Setting should be done with the fingertips. It's unclear why this myth continues to spread. Some people believe that you're supposed to use only your fingertips while setting. Many coaches teach that as well. But the truth is that setting should involve as much finger area as possible. When setting, the ball should make contact with at least 4 of your fingers, almost extending to the palm. Some players include the pinky, while others don't, but the key is maximizing surface area. This increased contact area significantly improves control over the ball, allowing for a smoother and more precise transfer of force from your wrist to the ball. Proper hand positioning is essential for clean, consistent sets. Number 6. To get better topspin, snap your wrist. In volleyball, many coaches recommend wrist snap, yet this advice fails to produce better topspin or change the ball's flight path during powerful hits. The short moment your hand stays in contact with the ball makes wrist snap ineffective for producing notable spin. To create topspin, you need to strike the ball in a position that exceeds its center of gravity when measured from its path of motion. A brushing motion directs the ball's trajectory into a sharper downward angle. No matter how perfect your topspin technique becomes, it cannot replace fundamental mechanical errors in your game. Most players who miss their targets or fail to generate enough power stand too close to the ball, which results in poor hit control and weak hit performance. For the most powerful and accurate shots, keep the ball in front of your body while driving through the ball from behind. Wrist snap serves functional purposes when you need to hit off-speed roll shots or control the angle of your hit while playing near the net. When you snap your wrist, it helps create spin and control during targeted situations, though it provides limited solutions in general. To achieve better hits, you must master fundamental techniques including proper placement along with correct body positions and hitting techniques. Identifying these fundamentals will lead to better performance than depending on wrist snap techniques alone will provide. Number 7. Spin indicates a double contact when setting. This is one of the most debated rules in beach volleyball and has even started creeping into indoor play, though thankfully not as much. The good news? This myth is easy to debunk. Spin does not indicate a double contact when setting. No official rulebooks state that spin automatically constitutes a fault. There's no rule that says a ball spinning more than half a rotation is a double contact. None. In fact, the USAV beach volleyball rule explicitly states rotation of a set ball may indicate a held ball or multiple contacts during the set, but in itself is not a fault. However, in casual games without proper officials who have a clear line of sight and a strong grasp of the rules, setting an arbitrary spin rule can be an easy way for players to self-referee. Number 8. You always have to hit the ball 3 times. Next up, the 3 touches rule. Many beginners think that their team needs to touch the ball 3 times before sending it to the opposite side of the court, but that's not the case. It's not necessary to touch it 3 times, rather the rule is about not touching it more than 3 times. The ball can be sent towards the opposition after only 1 or 2 touches as well. If your move requires 1 touch, you're more than allowed to do that. Number 9. If the ball hits the line, it's out. Here's an interesting one. If you don't watch volleyball matches, you might believe the same thing. Some people think that if the ball touches the line, it's considered out. But the truth is, any part of the ball could be touching the line and it's in. It could be even a millimeter and it's considered in. That's why the referees are watching everything with an eagle eye. Number 10. Only the setter can set the ball. This one is a common misunderstanding. While setters are usually the ones who provide the perfect set, a lot of the times outside hitters or liberos come in to set the ball instead. Volleyball is all about adaptability, and in case of a broken play, any player can come forward to set the ball. Number 11. Liberos can substitute any player. This common misconception often causes confusion. Liberos have specific substitution rules that limit who they can replace on the court. A libero can only substitute for back row players, not front row players, because their role is specialized for defense and ball control, like digging and passing. Liberos cannot rotate into the front row under any circumstances, meaning they are not allowed to attack the ball above the net's height, block or attempt to block. Substitutions involving a libero does not count towards the team's total substitution limit, but they must follow specific procedures, such as occurring during a dead ball and at the designated libero exchange zone near the sideline. By sticking to these rules, liberos ensure their play focuses on enhancing the team's defensive strategy without interfering with front row offensive roles. Number 12. Volleyball is easy and doesn't require much athleticism. If you've ever played a competitive game of volleyball, you'd know this myth is totally bogus. Volleyball demands quick reflexes, explosive power, endurance, and sharp decision-making. Players train rigorously to jump higher, react faster, and stay mentally tough. Nobody who knows the game would call it an easy sport. Volleyball requires as much athleticism as any other game. Every sport requires different kinds of efforts, and volleyball players go through rigorous training. So if anyone tells you volleyball is easy, just invite them to a game. They'll change their mind fast.